First two athlete announcements for the Shaw Classic, and they are big ones. So Brian Shaw, typically looking to get the absolute best in the world for this year's Shaw Classic. Every year this competition gets bigger and better. And he's put out on the social media that, firstly, Mitch Hooper is going to be competing, but also Thor Bjornsson. Thor has been announced on the official Instagram page of the Shaw Classic. He put a video out himself last week stating that he wants to do this competition as well as Iceland's Strongest Man. And obviously we already knew that he was doing the Rogue Invitational as well. Yes. So a relatively busy year for a man that hasn't competed.
Five competitions. Yeah, 5 in total, which is more than a lot of the big names will probably do this year.
So very quickly, let's remind ourselves of the events that are going to be happening at the Shaw Classic, because Brian Shaw likes to put on 8 events for competition. As you guys, if you're a regular fan of this channel, you'll know I like that. I like to see multiple events, really challenging the athletes in multiple different ways. Over many events, this is a great way to really see who is the best in the world. So Brian announced that they're going to do a max deadlift at the Shaw Classic, and not just a max deadlift, but a max deadlift without a suit.
Yeah.
Brian doesn't allow figure of 8 straps. He doesn't allow deadlift suits. He wants to see who is the best deadlifter in the world when it comes to just that raw power. And this has to be an event that Thor is looking forward to.
His deadlift looked amazing when we saw the elephant bar deadlift at the Arnold's this year. His record on that is 474, I think it is. And he didn't need to go close to that. I don't think he'd need to go close to record-breaking numbers, but I don't think that would stop him if it's there on the day. What do you think?
Well, Thor mentioned earlier that he wants to have a crack at the record again.
Yeah.
And looking at the opportunities that he's going to get this year, this is the only opportunity I know of currently where he will have the opportunity to go for a deadlift for max. Now, no suit involved. Does the no suit affect someone like Thor? We've seen at the Arnold Classic that, he does the elephant bar without a suit. That would be a statement to go and pull, 505 or over 501 with no deadlift suit.
Yeah. Do you think Eddie will be there? Because he's been at that competition.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That will be interesting. I mean, Eddie has been there a couple of times, obviously very good friends with Brian Shaw.
Yeah.
But I don't think that will matter to Brian. Brian wants the best guys at his competition.
This is such a great news for the whole weekend, because obviously Brian's turning it into a festival, the festival of the Shaw Classic. And to have someone like Thor there is such a huge draw. So we saw that at the Arnold USA this year, didn't we? So he's not going to care. He wants him, and these events, some of the events look great for Thor.
Yeah, well, let's look at the next event. Potentially at the moment is an area where he isn't back to his best. We've got the overhead medley. The other event that could be an issue for someone like Thor is the dumbbell medley. Now, dumbbell was actually an event he was extremely good at. He was one of the best dumbbell pressers in the world. However, since his pec tear, the pressing power is not back to his best. We saw that at the Arnold Classic. Does he have enough time to make the significant improvement? Because I'll say this, and obviously massive Mitch Hooper fan, Coach Mitch, really good relationship with Mitch. But Thor was not at his best at the Arnold Classic. And the fact is, if his pressing was back to his best, the battle between those two would have been immense.
Oh yeah, it would have been great. Yeah,
he was nowhere near his ability on the axle. Even the stone to shoulder, way down on what we've seen Thor do before. So if he has the time to make those improvements, we could be in for some incredible battles. I mean, there's other great athletes as well. At the moment, these are the only 2 that have been announced.
If Tom's in it as well, these are great events for Tom.
They are as well. And an exciting prospect would be the manhood stones with Thor and Tom. Now, Tom does have a winning record against Thor on stones, which not many people can claim.
No, so they've only actually done Atlas stones against each other. They've never done a max stone event together, but they've done Atlas stones 3 times, and Tom has beaten him twice.
Yeah, Tom right now, I don't think anyone can argue is the best stone lifter in the world. But Thor is one of those guys you put into that situation that could put the pressure on.
Oh, yeah.
And, I would like to see those two head-to-head on stone. It's an exciting prospect again if Tom accepts his invitation and ends up going as well. I mean, we'll go more into the athletes because I know Brian wants the best 16 athletes in the world, and I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on who you think those 16 are, because it's a very, very difficult thing to pick. Obviously,
and you have to remember also there was a qualifier for this, which was won by Austin Andrade.
Yes, so he is going 100%.
Yes, yeah.
And then obviously we've got 2 athletes confirmed so far. So there's 12 other possible invitations to this show.
Yeah.
A couple of athletes that, won't be going. We know Martins isn't going to be doing it.
Mateusz.
Mateusz injured the Achilles, so he is out as well. But the likelihood is that Trey Mitchell's there, Evan Singleton is there, Matt Ragg is there, Tom Stoltman, potentially Luke Stoltman. So many great athletes that could end up in this lineup. But as you kind of go down that list, it gets harder and harder to think, okay, who deserves that invite? So I'd love to know who you guys think should be invited, because I do know Brian wants who he feels is the top 16 currently in the world. He doesn't care, about reputation. He wants the best guys competing. So, would we see a Lucas Hatton there, for instance? Or many possible opportunities for athletes. Obviously, World's Strongest Man's coming up. I'm sure he's going to be looking at that. Some other big competitions between now and the Shore Classic. So opportunities to prove yourself. But this is going to be a big show. There's no doubt about that. We've got the power medley.
Yeah.
In the past, this has tended to have been some kind of carry into an arm over arm. The keg toss, when it comes to throwing, he is arguably the best in the world.
And it doesn't matter if it's a speed run or if it's a max height. He holds world records in both, I believe.
Yeah, he does. He's extremely good for speed, extremely good for height, weight, distance, any type of throw. You don't want Thor grabbing you and throwing you, because he's going to launch you.
And then they're finishing with the fingers into power stairs, which again, I mean, you've just got to look at Thor and know that that's although I guess, is that considered like an overhead, the finger?
I think he'll be okay on that, because the body weight that he has and the height will be a big advantage. Power stairs as well, an event that he is very good at, that height, very beneficial when it comes to power stairs. Particularly, you think of the Shore Classic, it's going to be heavy. Yeah. It's going to be a big, awkward object. Just having those longer legs is beneficial. But again, someone like Tom Stoltman, we saw him do well. Tom last year at the Shore Classic was fantastic, other than messing up the press, the very first event. And what impressed me with Tom is that he kept his head and climbed all the way back.
Yeah.
I don't see Tom making that same mistake again.
No.
Every time we see Tom, he's maturing, he's getting better. So I would love to see him in shape for this.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Mitch doesn't watch this, because I think this one would really be more between Thor and Tom if they both come in shape.
Oh, you can never say that. But
I know, but looking at these events, and I normally wouldn't, like, how can you bet against the man who's winning everything right now? But just looking at the events, it feels like, especially with like that finisher, it's like a big man event, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we should remember that Mitch came second last year at the Shore Classic.
Yeah.
He is on an absolute roll right now.
He is.
And, knowing Mitch, I would never count him out.
No.
But I do agree that this could be an epic battle. Not necessarily just between 2 athletes.
No, it's true.
I think we could see a number of athletes battling in this competition. And as I've said earlier, the multiple events, the 8 events rather than the 5 or 6, it changes things a little bit.
It does. And actually, like, it can change in Mitch's favour because of his consistency. Like, who knows? But I know that already, just with 2 athletes, I'm excited. If it turned out it was only those 2, like pure strength 87, I'd still be excited.
Mitch versus Thor. Obviously, Mitch has beaten Thor the last 2 competitions. And Thor's been super respectful. Thor really has. But deep down, Thor is thinking, okay, I'm just biding my time. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, Mr. Hooper. As good as you are, you haven't seen me at my best yet.
No.
And I think, Thor is a confident man. He believes in his ability. He hasn't had that long back in the sport yet. And I think most of I think 2018 Thor is the greatest strongman that we've ever seen. The question is, can he get back to that? And how quickly can Mitch Hooper keep progressing? Yeah. Because the fact is, no one's been as good as Mitch this quickly.
No.
But no one's ever been as good as Thor was in 2018.
Oh, it's interesting.
And then you add Tom Stoltman to that mix, who is always a threat, mentally getting strong. I really believe Tom Stoltman is one of the most talented athletes out there. And he's just getting stronger and stronger mentally. Obviously very good at World's Strongest Man for a number of years now.
Yeah.
Been in the top 2 the last 4 years in a row. but it's his other shows that are now improving that is starting to solidify him as one of the best.
He's reliably getting on the podium in those shows now, isn't he?
Yeah, and that for me is what makes you one of the greats. When you can be put into any show and you are a threat to win, or you start winning these major shows, then you go down as one of the greats. And that's what Tom is doing, that's what Mitch is doing, and that is what Thor has already done.
Yeah.
The prospect of just those three excites me. There's so many great athletes that could be at the Shore Classic. I know Brian is going to make this bigger and better than ever before. It's going to be a magnificent event. Make sure you guys comment below with who you think should be invited to the Shore Classic, who you think could do well on different events. Obviously, you know, there'll be more and more details to come, but we know what the events are. We do not know who all the athletes are. And we do have some other shows between now and then, obviously, that can change things. But it's an exciting prospect to look forward to later in the year. I'd love to know your thoughts, guys. As I said, comment below. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.